Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. We'll go ahead and get started with our first topic, which is COVID-19 information. We have Dr. Moreno with us. Good afternoon, Dr. Moreno.
Let's see. Hello. Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon. Any updates for us, or are you ready for questions?
Yeah. Good afternoon. No, the public health doesn't have any announcements today, but we'll take questions.
All right, thank you. If there are any questions for Dr. Moreno, go ahead and put them in chat right now, and we will get started. First question for you, Dr. Moreno. With the rise in COVID-19 cases in Monterey County, what is the main concern of the health department?
So thank you, Maya. So we do have a slight increase in case rates, slight increase in positivity, and the number of people that in the hospital with COVID is slightly up. So this is just a reminder that we're still in the middle of a pandemic, and that there are still things that people can do to protect themselves and protect others who might be more at risk for severe illness. So that includes the getting fully vaccinated, wearing a face covering in crowded indoor settings, particularly if the person is immune compromised or otherwise not able to get receive the vaccine. Also, testing and treatment for COVID-19 illness for mild and moderate symptoms, and also at any chance we can try to maintain ventilation, particularly when we're indoors. So just another reminder that we're not out of the pandemic, and there are still things people can do that are effective to protect ourselves and others.
Thank you very much, Dr. Moreno. Another question for you. This question is regarding the grand jury report. What is public health response to this report? One of the findings is the lack of a pandemic response plan. Is there a public health response plan in the works now?
Well, thanks for the question. So the county has issued its initial response, initial statement. So I'd like to refer the media to that official county statement. But the only other thing I'd like to say is I really do want to express my appreciation to all the public health and health department employees and volunteers who've dedicated so much of their time to planning, responding to the pandemic to save lives. So thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Another question for you. Why is it that the case rate keeps rising, but hospitalizations remain relatively steady in Monterey County?
Yeah, so we've seen that with the Omicron and the Omicron sublineages that it is more infectious than previous versions of the previous variants of the COVID-19 virus, but not necessarily more virulent. So as new variants emerge, we learn more about these emerging variants, and this one continues to be contagious, but it looks like it may not be more virulent, meaning hopefully it's not going to cause more serious illness, which means that people will get symptoms, more mild and moderate symptoms, and fewer people, particularly now that many people have been vaccinated, fewer people will come down with serious illness.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Any other questions for Dr. Moreno today? Giving a minute, a few seconds here. Okay, another question for you. It's coming in sections. Another question in regards to the grand jury, and I'm going to take a little liberty in pulling this question together. I hope you don't mind who's asking. Will anything change with public health since the report has come out? Will there be changes? And I hope that's what the questioner is trying to ask.
Yeah, so thanks again. So again, there's a process that the county always follows when there's a grand jury report issued, and the county has issued its initial statement, and public health will be working with Director Jimenez, the director of the health department, to recommend responses to the grand jury report.
Thanks very much for explaining that too. There may be people who aren't familiar with the grand jury process. Any other questions for Dr. Moreno today? I am not, one more, sneaking it in. What are the top things that people should be doing during this time of increased case rates?
Thanks. I think for people who are have received the COVID vaccine, if they're eligible to receive the second booster, I think that's important to do that now and because we do see a slight increase in case rates. So if you're eligible for a second booster, now would be a good time to do it. For those that are choosing to wait on getting their second booster, we encourage people not to wait too long. Some people may be waiting for the fall when there might be potentially another surge of cases as we get closer to winter and are maybe want to wait till then. But either way, either now or hopefully soon if you're eligible for second booster, I'd recommend that you get it.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Another question for you. We learned about an outbreak in Seaside in a public community meeting. Is there any additional recommendations for public activities?
Right. So again, that's just a reminder. If the outbreaks that get reported to public health are a reminder that we're still in a pandemic. And again, it's really, I think, important that people remember that there are strategies that have been proven to be effective at protecting people from getting sick with COVID-19 and preventing serious illness and hospitalization and death. So we're still in a pandemic, and we still highly recommend that people receive their initial vaccines and boosters when they are eligible, and when appropriate, use face coverings. And if you come down with COVID and you're eligible for a treatment and you're offered the treatment, I suggest that people take the treatment because it has been shown to reduce serious illness, reduce hospitalization, and reduce death.
Thank you, Dr. Moreno. Any other questions for Dr. Moreno today? Seeing none, thanks, Dr. Moreno, for joining us. If we get any additional questions that come in afterwards, we will forward them to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Moving on to our next topic, what are drought impacts on our local groundwater levels and seawater intrusion? The Monterey County Water Resources Agency monitors these two things, and they have some very interesting results from a report that was just released. And I'm very pleased to have Tamara Voss and Nicole Korth from the Water Resources Agency. They are both hydrologists, and they're here to share some interesting information, including something I worked for the county for 20 years, and I never knew you did sampling every August for our groundwater levels. So I learned something new today.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for inviting us. This is a wonderful opportunity. Nicole has a few slides that she's going to go ahead and pull up, if that's all right. We'll go ahead and screen share.
Please do.
And Nicole is going to start us off here, and then I'll wrap up with seawater intrusion mapping.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks again for the opportunity to come talk to you all today. My name is Nicole Korth. I'm a hydrologist with the Water Resource Agency. Here to talk to you all today about our 2021 groundwater level and seawater intrusion contours. Quick background into the Water Resource Agency has several long-term monitoring programs that are focused on collecting and analyzing groundwater level and water quality data throughout the entire Salinas Valley groundwater basin. This map here shows the distribution and number of wells currently sampled in each of our major programs. So you did mention our August program. We do have some where we go out every month, as well as our major program is actually through November and December. It's called our annual program. All of these programs are long-term. We've been collecting data since about 1947 and ongoing so that we can continually monitor the health of the groundwater basin. I'm not planning on talking to you about all of our sets of groundwater level contours today. They are available on our website. I'm happy to talk more about them if there are questions. I did want to point y'all to one product that we do use to look at these long-term changes in groundwater levels, which is our cumulative change chart. So this here shows the average change in groundwater elevations between each of our annual sampling events. So this is the one that occurs again in like December, November timeframe for each sub area since 1944. So we have average changes for the pressure sub area, kind of similar with that 180, 400 foot aquifer in this red line. The east side sub area is blue, forebay is green, and upper valley is yellow. And these background colors here represent the water year type for that year. So blue would be a wet water year, and orange is going to be a dry water year. And then just for reference, there's a couple reference lines for when some of our major water supply projects came online. So in 2021, this last set of dots here, all 4 of our major sub areas showed a decline in groundwater levels from where they were in 2020. This is the second year of decline we've seen in a row now, which does make sense given that the last 2 water years have been a dry normal and a dry water year type. That's all I was going to talk to y'all on about groundwater levels, but with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tam to talk about our seawater intrusion.
Yeah, great, thank you. So I'm Tamara Voss, I'm Associate Hydrologist with the agency, and I'm going to start off here just kind of relating Nicole's portion of the presentation here with groundwater levels and why they're important. So groundwater levels give us the relationship of where we're at compared to mean sea level, or the 0 line, which would be mean sea level, 0. And when groundwater levels are below that, they allow for water to come in. And in our case, in the coastal area, we do have water coming in from the Pacific Ocean through those aquifers. And that's what's called seawater intrusion. There's a transition zone, and the transition zone exists everywhere from between, you have straight seawater at a concentration of 19,000 milligrams per liter chloride, and what would be native in our groundwater aquifers, which would be 50 milligrams per liter. The agency by ordinance uses a 500 milligram per liter contour line as the definition of seawater intrusion. 500 milligrams per liter is twice the drinking water standard. The drinking water standard is 250. It's also 10 times the native concentration of chloride in our aquifers, and it's well above the kind of injurious class 3 water when you look at it as far as agricultural classifications for use of irrigation water. And so with that brief introduction, I'm going to move on to showing you the seawater intrusion maps that we contour every year. So every year, as Nicole had in her first slide, she mentioned we sample about 120 wells for water quality data. We collect it in June and in August, and then we map that. And so this map shows the historical trend over the years in the 180-foot aquifer. This is the shallower aquifer in the coastal zone. And you can see the progression as seawater has moved in over time. Those are the dates. We've been collecting and mapping this data since 1944. And in 2021, we had no further advancement in this shallower 180-foot aquifer as compared to the 2020. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't have increasing chloride concentrations. We just had no new areas that met the threshold of the 500 milligram per liter line. And so with that, Nicole, next slide, please. So this map is the 400-foot aquifer. This is the main kind of aquifer that most people are using for irrigation supplies, as well as like Castroville has their municipal wells in this. Marina has some municipal wells in this, as well as the deeper aquifers. And so in this map, once again, we show the progression, the historical from 1959 in this case, through 2021. And you can see in kind of the dark maroon reddish color there where the advancement occurred as compared to the 2020 to the 2021 data. And so we have a little slivered advancement that moved laterally inward near the kind of the river area, as well as down on the southern lobe near Blanco Road. And then we have these islands that have formed out in front of the main body of seawater intrusion. And these islands are not from seawater that has moved in laterally through the aquifers, but that has moved downwards from the above. The overlying 180-foot aquifer in this area is impaired, and due to some pathway that exists, whether it's through thin or missing aquitards or well casings that have been compromised, we have created, or there's this vertical migration of that water downward that has been contaminated or impaired the 400-foot, and that's what these islands show, as well as once again the dark brown kind of maroon area is where that advancement. So you see that large island kind of expanding, as well as the little arm that connected what was a separate middle island and the southern island. And with that, I think that's the last slide. Isn't that correct, Nicole? Yeah, and with that, Nicole and I'd be happy to answer any questions today.
Thank you. I'm going to give people a chance to digest what they have seen and put in some questions. But I know I have questions, and I'm not a water expert, but it's showing that we're definitely seeing the impacts of the drought, that Monterey County is not immune, even though we're not on any state or federal water program. We are not immune from the drought and drought impacts.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Monterey County is unique in the sense that we are not plumbed into any of the state water projects. That water that moves from Northern California to Southern California has no spur that comes off into the Monterey County. And so we must rely on ourselves entirely to solve our water issues. And Monterey County does use a lot of groundwater. We have minimal surface water, the Salinas River. And during drought years, it doesn't always flow. And we certainly have experienced 2 years, and it, for all intents and purposes, look like we're into the beginning of a third potential drought year. And we are seeing decreasing groundwater levels as well as seawater intrusion as a result of that also.
These reports are very important because there are a variety of people use water in a variety of different ways. What are the takeaways for our community in terms of for agriculture, for business, for households, for everybody who uses water? What should we be doing? What should we be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the standard conservation practices, minimal outdoor watering, conservation practices. The agriculture community, they do their part as well. They are our food sources, so there is a need there. They're not just using water for the heck of it, but the standard conservation practices.
And those maps, the contours are really showing us why those conservation practices, where we could all do something, to help with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We all have a role in this. This is our groundwater source, and only we can solve this.
I do have a question that came in, and I don't know if you can answer it, but has Fort Ord, has the Fort Ord possible water pollution problem entered any of our drinking water, such as the 180-foot aquifer?
Yeah, I have only a little bit of familiarity with the water pollution issues there on Old Fort Ord, and I think that's like the TCE, I believe, is probably the what that's related to, the activities from previous military use there. To my understanding, where those plumes are located, there are no municipal supply wells nearby that would be close by to be contaminated, but that is not my area of expertise, I'm afraid.
All right, but thank you for taking a try at the question. I don't have any additional questions for you. Thank you very much for sharing these maps and for really bringing just a few of them there, because I know your presentation yesterday at the board was extremely thorough. And if anybody is a water nerd and really wants to get into it, they can watch the replay of the board meeting from yesterday. But thanks for giving us a snapshot of where we are right now with our groundwater and seawater intrusion.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for having us. And yes, all of those products are on the agency's website, and Nicole and I would be happy to answer if somebody wanted to reach out to us.
All right,
Thank you
both. And our last topic is an event coming up next month. It's the 2022 Homeless Veterans Stand Down, which is funded and supported by our Monterey County Military and Veterans Affairs Office. It will take place on June 17th and 18th at the Monterey County Fairgrounds. This is a very critical and crucial event for a lot of our veterans because they get resources at the stand down that they may not get elsewhere, such as legal aid, housing resources, clothing, and medical care. We're very pleased to have Jack Murphy from the MVAO here, as well as Dan Presser, who is with the Monterey Fairgrounds, to talk about what's coming up for the stand down this year. Hello, gentlemen.
Hi there.
Hi,
Please
Maya.
tell us.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for letting us get the word out to our community partners. You said it best. This is a fantastic event for our kind of marginalized and at-risk veteran community. COVID has been hitting a lot of these low-income and marginalized communities particularly hard. And I'm proud to be here with Dan, who is also the public information officer for the stand down. So he wears a couple of different hats, but no, we're super excited that this will be the third stand down event that is being that has been funded by the county through our office. And we're grateful to the Board of Supervisors for always approving our requests to help homeless veterans. This, in fact, is the sixth homeless veteran stand down. Normally, they're multi-day events. We had to cancel the 2020 event, and instead in 2021, we just had a one-day event with no overnights, and that was because of COVID. And then this year, the event is being curtailed again because of COVID. It'll be two back-to-back day events with no overnights, and that's really because of our recognition that we don't want to turn otherwise a great event to care for homeless veterans and their families. We don't want to turn that into some kind of super spreader event. But as Dr. Moreno said, we are taking all the precautions we can. We'll have testing at entry on both days to the stand down event. Vaccinations will be provided on site by our medical partners. And then we will be adhering to mask distancing and PPE requirements that we've all kind of absorbed to be kind of normal in our day-to-day operations here. But this is going to be a great event. It's at the Monterey County Fairgrounds, as you said, on the 17th and 18th, which is Saturday. It's a Friday and a Saturday at the Monterey County Fairgrounds. It's a regional event. Transportation will be provided by Monterey Salinas Transport to pick up veterans from outside the county and bring them to this event so they could get the care and services that they both need and deserve. And they'll also be returned at the end of the day, and then they're free to come back the following day for more services. Those services will include housing resources, a lot of really good clothing. There'll be medical care and dental care that'll be provided, religious services, veteran services and claims assistance. Our office will be there. There's free food, transportation, as I mentioned. We'll also have representatives from the Department of California's Veteran Affairs and the Federal Department of Veterans Affairs providing assistance to veterans as they need it. One of the real neat and sought after components, and it can be life-changing for so many people, that's going to be available at this stand down that has not been available at the last couple stand downs, is that we're going to have stand down court. Thus far, we've got 8 different county superior courts who've agreed to provide a judge, public defenders, district attorney teams, a lot of pro bono legal assistance will be there. Those counties include Monterey, Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, San Mateo, Alameda, San Benito County, Stanislaus, San Francisco, and even San Diego County. They'll have judges on site, or they'll pipe in remotely to hear and provide legal relief to homeless veterans with cases that have borne to be barriers to getting housed. A lot of these revolve around homelessness, such as blocking traffic, sleeping in public, various minor infractions that over time build up and really prove to be barriers to housing. So we're very excited to have that available at this stand down. And again, I just want to reiterate, it's a free event to any homeless veteran. Transportation is provided. All services will be provided. Again, funded by our office, approved by the County Board of Supervisors. We're just super excited to be able to offer this again. Anyone who's interested in volunteering, donating, or most importantly, if you're a homeless veteran and you want to attend, we highly encourage you to pre-register at montereystandown.org. You can also contact the Veterans Transition Center, who's the lead nonprofit that's executing this event. They can contact them at 883-8387, extension 238. Thanks, Maya. And Dan, is there anything you want to share as well?
Yeah, you did a fantastic job. Thank you. There are two things that are very important to the veteran. Can you guys hear me? Okay. There are two things that are very important to the veteran in why they come to our stand down. The first you mentioned is legal, and the second is dental. They really love to come and get their teeth worked on. Some people walk out with bridges and full new mouth of teeth. I had one veteran come up to me and take out his dentures and say, look, you know, I can eat again. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'd like to reiterate on the reason why they like the veterans, like the homeless veterans, like legal, is that once they get the misdemeanors cleared, if that's all they have, then they are eligible to get their driver's license again. And hopefully with a driver's license, they can get a job and get off the streets. So those are the two things that are really important to the veteran, although there's all these other services that Jack has told you about. And lastly, we're really looking for you guys to go out and spread the word so that not only the veterans find out about, the homeless veterans find out about the homeless stand down, but that we can get some volunteers as well. So please help us reach the volunteers and the homeless veterans. Help us make this another great year for the Monterey County Homeless Veterans Stand Down. Thank you.
And I think if anyone ever wants to have a fulfilling day of which they can walk at the end of the day, say, I helped a lot of people, deserving people, volunteering at the stand down, would be one of those days, because you have, I've been to the stand downs and your volunteers are amazing. They're so happy. They're so outgoing. They engage all the veterans who are there, you know, and just everybody's just a big family.
And the veteran you may meet can tell you some really good stories. They all have some very interesting stories.
And also, thanks very much for talking a little bit more about the legal and the dental. I think the dental people take that for granted, that they can go to the dentist. A homeless veteran is not going to, you know, have the same opportunities. But the legal thing, Jack, I think what you described it as being life-changing, and it is. And people just don't understand how life-changing getting those citations cleared up, because they grow. They become insurmountable for some veterans because they've gone on so long.
One story, if I could share with you, is that this man came up to me and said he had cleared $240,000 in accumulated fines, all misdemeanors. He said, now I can get a job. So he had tears in his eyes.
Thank you both for sharing a little bit about the stand down. We hope that this will result in some volunteers or some donations, or getting the word out that the services are available. And we hope to talk to you after the stand down to find out how well it went.
Okay.
And thank you everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week, and we'll see you then.